this morning as we head to Saturn V. As we're traveling, we are going to be about 17, 18 minutes or so getting to the Saturn V Center. We are going by the Vehicle Assembly Building. You'll get to see the VAB, a lot of information. And then once you get to Saturn V, you're going to get to see a real Saturn V moon rocket that's laid out there in that building, and a lot of other neat space
World by
artifacts.
volume, and is the place where NASA completes the final assembly of its rockets before launch. The sheer scale of this building is hard to grasp, even when you're right next to it.
Do you ever feel really small when you think about space? What about when you're standing next to a skyscraper or a really big bridge? Well, I feel about as small as an ant right now. I'm standing inside the Vehicle Assembly Building trying to grasp how large it really is in here. It has 4 bays. Each bay has 2 large horizontal doors below it and 7 smaller vertically opening doors above it, tall enough to fit the world's largest rocket through. In fact, these are the largest doors in the world.
It was built in the 1960s for the Apollo program. Every Saturn V rocket that sent humans to the moon was assembled right here. Every space shuttle mission also assembled within these same walls. After the space shuttle program, a major renovation to the inside of this building began to accommodate NASA's next generation of rockets, the Space Launch System, or SLS. Lockheed Martin has developed a capsule called Orion that will sit atop the SLS rocket. This capsule is designed to facilitate human exploration of the moon and eventually Mars. The first flown Orion capsule from Exploration Flight Test 1, EFT-1, sits inside the NASA Now exhibit at the Visitor Complex. This uncrewed test flight launched atop the Delta IV Heavy rocket in 2014. The 4.5-hour flight took the spacecraft around the Earth 2 times before splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, where it was recovered and eventually brought back to KSC. Just outside the VAB, you'll see a full-scale replica of the Launch Abort System, or LAS. Developed by Lockheed Martin, this rocket-powered tower, designed to sit atop the Orion crew module, is built to quickly propel astronauts away from the rocket in case of an emergency. The actual LAS underwent a critical flight test in July 2019, called Ascent Abort 2. It launched atop a U.S. Air Force booster carrying a boilerplate, or non-functional, version of Orion, and successfully performed the abort maneuvers, proving that the LAS will be ready for its first crewed launch, Artemis 1.
As we get closer here to the Vehicle Assembly Building, I want to give you a little information about the VAB. The Vehicle Assembly Building is the world's largest one-story building. It is 525 feet tall, 160 meters. It's all one story. You can walk right into the ground floor there anywhere and look up and see the ceiling. They say it's big enough on top of this building that you could set the old Yankee Stadium and have an acre of ground left over. The building takes up over 9 acres on the inside perimeter. Our American flag there is 210 feet in length, 110 feet in width, and is the largest hand-painted flag in the world. It was hand-painted on the building in the late 60s when the building was complete. It's been repainted twice since then, hand-painted. 210 feet by 110 feet width. The stripes are wide enough we could drive our bus down the stripes. They are 8.5 feet wide. The blue Canton field of stars is the same size as a professional basketball court. The stars are 6 feet around from point to point.
These are the very consoles we sat at when men first took off to fly to the moon. The tragedy of Apollo 1 had put us a year and a half behind. We were making up for it in one big leap, and we were doing it with a rocket that no man had ever flown before. It was a few days before Christmas 1968 when Apollo 8 sat on the pad. She was the first of a new kind, a moon rocket. This was the Phoenix, risen from the ashes of Apollo 1. The first Apollo crew did not die in vain. This was to be their testament. "36 stories high, she had been fully fueled throughout the night. The liquid oxygen in her tanks caused ice to form on the outside of the craft. The extreme temperature differences between the air and the sub-zero fuel caused the metal skin of the rocket to expand and contract. Everyone who was on the pad agreed. It was as though the rocket was alive, breathing, straining at the leash. Earlier in the morning, astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders had made their final preparations before taking that long ride out to the waiting spacecraft. The minimum safe distance from Saturn V at liftoff was 3 miles. The reason was simple. When fully fueled, the rocket contained the explosive power of an atomic bomb. As the clock counted down, the astronauts and all of us in launch control went through the pre-flight checks. Our hands on the controls of the most powerful, most complex machine ever built. It had over 2 million separate systems, and to bring these men back alive, everything had to work perfectly. You are now in the final minutes before the launch of Apollo 8, right here where it actually happened. Mankind is about to leave his planet behind and journey to another. It is one of those rare moments when history is not being made, destiny is being embraced.
Apollo 8 successfully orbited the moon, and the astronauts returned safely to the Earth. I know. I'm Jim Lovell, and I was one of the crew of this spacecraft, Apollo 8. We were the first men to see the surface of the moon from just a few miles away. But it was the hundreds of thousands of men and women who worked in that team, and the millions of people who supported the mission that really made it possible. That way, I guess, we all went to the moon. Now, on the other side of those doors, you'll find an actual Saturn V moon rocket. It's still the most powerful, the most complex machine ever built. And I guess it's the only one that can take you to another planet. I actually got to fly on a second flight to the moon called Apollo 13. But that's another story.
Which was a lunar landing mission that flew in 1979.
Right?
Hello.
Hi, it's okay if I go here?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
He just keeps telling me it's his switch. It's your switch.
Oh, we are at a launch area.
So I'll either ride back to Tony or I'll get
walked away from this one. The Marine Lunar Module, of course, has no ejection seat. If things go wrong up there for Armstrong and Aldrin, no
Kennedy Space Center is surrounded by the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. These 140,000 acres of protected coastal wetlands are home to more than 1,500 species of wildlife and plants. Other than the few launch pads and facilities you see spotted across the horizon, this area remains a refuge for that diverse wildlife. So keep an eye out for egrets and tortoises and maybe even an alligator on your tour today. Even if you don't spot them, know that they are all